Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race C race and strategy guide. We're off to a very popular combination, some would say overused combination, but we're off to Spa Francorchamps and we're in the Group 3 machinery. Certainly not the first time we've done this combination for Daily Race C. And as usual, we have 8 laps to get round. Tyre wear is pretty high at times 8, fuel just at the times 1. Soft and medium tyres are available, both compounds are mandatory. BOP is on, damage is light, it's a rolling start, and slipstream is real. So yeah, as I said, not the first time I've done this combination. I think it could be the 4th time, to be honest with you, for Spa in Group 3 for Daily Race C. A couple of those times it has been a no stopper. The other time the settings were pretty similar to this one. I think the tyre wear was at times 7. For the majority of those times we've done the race before, the Toyota Supra has been overpowered. Very much became a one make race. So it's no surprise as we entered the 8 o'clock split that there was a fair few Toyota Supras on the grid. Now, I went for the Mazda RX Vision just purely because I thought tyre wear was going to be a major issue. So I thought a car in the race that's maybe good on the tyres would probably be an advantage here. So the RX Vision is very good on tyres. There's a couple of McLarens in there as well, which is another car I feel will be pretty good. A couple of BMW M6s as well. So fairly mixed grid for this first race of the week, and it's going to turn out to be a pretty good race, to be honest with you, and cars looking fairly competitive with each other. Now, I went into this one with absolutely no practice whatsoever. Kind of refreshing, to be honest, to go into a Daily Race C with some strategy elements involved and not actually know what the strategy was going to be myself. Now, I had an inkling, to be honest with you, because I've done this for a long time, I've played the game for a long time, what the strategy would around about be. Before we get into that though, let's just mention the rolling start, starting down in P13 here. Bit of a horrendous position to be in. The rolling start at the back of the grid in Spa has been a problem for a long time, and it's certainly not been resolved. You can just see the gap that has opened up to the cars in front of me there, just purely through that rolling start. So if you're starting below P12, you are going to have a little bit of a gap to make up, but the nature of the first lap means that people do tend to lose time, so you should be able to get back up there. 8 seconds behind the leader as we go on to the Camo straight for the first time. We're going to make up our first position as Obadi's has been involved in an instant. Now, I know he's been involved in an instant because a little bit later on in the lap I'm going to see somebody with a 3.5 second penalty. We're starting on the medium tyres here. Obviously starting at the back of the grid, you're going to start on the slower tyre. If you start on the faster tyre, then you just get held up by people on the slower tyre over the first few laps, so you lose any advantage you would have by being on the softer compound. So if you're starting anywhere below P3, P4, I would always recommend starting on the medium tyre. And to be honest with you, I think for this race overall, I would always recommend starting on the medium tyre. Just the advantage you get with the cooler tyres when you make your pit stop onto the softer compound, it means you then get a little bit more longevity out of the tyre. And with tyre wear being fairly crucial in this one, it's probably the best way to approach it. It's not to say that you can't start at the front of the grid and actually get a result by starting on the soft tyres. There is just an advantage to being on the mediums. So coming to the end of lap 1 here, I was very surprised to see somebody actually pitting at the end of lap 1. So it's Danny R. So Danny R is a World Tour driver, incredibly fast. He's the class of the field in this one. He's in the Supra, pitting at lap 1. I was very surprised he was going to try and do 7 laps on the soft tyres. So jumping forward to lap 3 here, this was my kind of estimation point, which would be a good time to pit at the end of lap 3. 3 laps on the mediums, 5 laps on the soft tyres, I thought would be quite possible. So coming into the pits we come here, be careful of the bollard as you enter the pits, and also be careful. It's quite a tricky little pit lane, so just take a little bit of caution as you come in there. It's easy to cut that bollard, and I've actually seen people end up, you know, facing sideways in the very narrow pit lane and being unable to move. In fact, was it me that did that in a race at some point on a live stream? I can't quite remember. I think it might be in a video somewhere. But yeah, fairly long pit stop at Spa Francorchamps. We're using the full course, not the 24-hour course, so the pit lane is, well, you do your pit stop here like the Formula 1 cars do, rather than the GT3 cars do it round the other side. So we entered the pits 13 seconds behind the leader. Leaving the pits here, it's going to be about 37 seconds by the time we get down to Radion and overused. So about a 24-second loss in the pits. Everybody's got to make that pit stop though. It's not catastrophic, is it? It's not like Catalonia bad, up at 35 seconds in the Group 4 cars, but it's still a fair chunk of time. But it does mean if you pit early, you're not going to be pitting out into traffic at the back of the grid. So pit stop completed, come to the end of our out lap here. Again, I wasn't sure just how long these tyres were going to last. I took it fairly easy on the out lap, and as we cross the line here to start lap 5, you can see there's a fair few drivers have pitted at the end of lap 4. Now some people pitted on lap 2, we know Danny pitted on lap 1, we pitted on lap 3, and some people are going to pit on lap 4. We're going to take a look at some of the cars in the race and how their tyre wear fared towards the end of the race once we finish. But up into P10 now, as the majority of the pit stops have been maybe jumped. The white Porsche that we pitted behind through the pit stop sequence there. So making up a position here on the French driver as Lemon Squeezy and Stetso, I think that name says here. Have a look at a little small screen to look at. Have a little bit of contact. All fair and clean, just a little bit of a misjudgment. I think probably more from the Porsche driver than anything else about where the McLaren was going to be on the exit. But get a little bit of an example here of how the Mazda and the McLaren and the Porsche fared against each other down the Kemmel Straight. So we had a good run on the McLaren, but really didn't make a whole lot of progress on them in the slipstream down the straight. Having a little bit of a moment there with the rear tyres, just going a little bit deep into, can't remember the name of that complex of corners. Why is that escaping me? I'm usually pretty good for corner names. But hey, jumping forward to lap 8 here, you can see some of the cars that pitted a little bit early started to struggle on tyres. Yeti Racer having a bit of a moment in their McLaren there. It's going to put us up into P8. Etamania serving a half-second penalty. We're going to try and go round the outside here at Blanchimon. Maybe another driver struggling on their tyres a little bit. There's a tiny bit of contact. We gave them room on the apex of the corner, tiny little bit of contact. It's all fair and good. A very tough corner to go through side by side. Braking a little bit early though, just because we're probably going to have dirty tyres from going off the track. But you can see our soft tyres have lasted absolutely perfectly fine. There was definitely another lap in them and possibly 2 laps in them had I really wanted to try and stretch that undercut. So very surprised that the soft tyres were lasting as long as they did in this one. I thought 5 laps max might have been the soft tyres life given the settings. Let's take a look at Danny, who pitted on lap 1, so 1 medium, 7 soft. He's actually got a little bit of tread on all 4 tyres, but that's not going to be a lot of fun to drive for sure. Another Supra that did the 2 medium, 6 soft, so a little bit more tread on the tyres, but still quite a bit of tyre wear there. We've got Bjorn in the BMW who did the 3.5, so definitely could do 6 laps on the soft tyres in the BMW there. We've got Fusion who's in the Genesis. I think he did the 3.5 as well. Bad tyre wear on the front in that car, so maybe you're stretching it trying to do there, so maybe a 4.4 better for that one. And we've got Lemon Squeezy in the McLaren. He did the 4 medium, 4 soft. Definitely plenty of tread there. There was definitely 6 laps possible in that McLaren. So there's a few options when it comes to the strategy. Now you can go for the huge undercut strategy as Danny demonstrated. Now I wouldn't recommend this for everyone. Probably the strategy may be reserved for the very, very good tyre savers or the very, very fast drivers who can kind of just cope with the really bad tyres at the end. But you can see from Danny that is absolutely possible to do that strategy and still have some tread, albeit not very much at the end of the race. But I think for optimal strategy, you're looking at 2 to 3 laps on the mediums, 5 to 6 laps on the soft tyres. If you're good on tyres, the 2.6 is more going to be more favourable. If you're not so good on tyres, maybe 3.5 is the way you want to be going. And if you're bad on tyres, or if you just want to have a safe strategy and just have good sort of tyres throughout the race, then the 4 medium, 4 soft, or even the vice versa of that, starting on the soft, finish on the mediums, is maybe the way for you to go. I would always recommend, unless you're starting right at the front of the grid, starting on the medium tyres in this one, because unless you can take advantage of the soft tyres, then you don't want to be getting held up by people on the mediums. And also that advantage you get when you pit onto the softer compound. So I'll just reiterate that again. When you start the race, your tyres start around about 68 to 70 degrees. When you come out the pits on tyres, they're down at 60 degrees, and that difference in the temperature can often mean you can get like an extra lap out of the tyres just purely through temperature alone. So when you pit from the mediums onto the soft tyres, you'll get more life out of the soft tyres than you would from starting the race. But that's your strategy option, folks. There's actually a little bit of strategy in this one. I do complain sometimes that this tyre wear model kind of closes the strategy off or makes it very one-dimensional, but I would say for this one there is a little bit more options out there. Let's finish off the video with a lap guide. We're in the Mazda RX Vision as mentioned before. This is our first lap on the soft tyres after our pit stop. So come down into turn 1, you're looking for the 100 board, down into second gear, take a big chunk of the curb there. Be careful on the exit if you get up on that sausage curb, which we kind of did a little bit, to be fair. It can unsettle the car, and if you're being a little bit too aggressive on the throttle, you can spin out. We've got traction control on here at 1 in the Mazda RX Vision. Now this is a car a lot of people say is actually better with traction control. I'm actually finding, you know, I've been converted with some of the testing I've just done recently. Traction control, even 1, 2 on, even 3 is actually not too bad at all. So up through overused and Radeon is full throttle, down into, I can't remember the name of these corners, that's really annoying me, but the 100 metre board is your reference point. Just before that, if you're in the slipstream as well, so coming through that sequence of corners, not too bad at all. Downhill braking zone here, start of the curb. I believe this is called Ravage, but I think you can call it Bruxelles as well. Coming into Jackie Inc.'s corner, or No Name corner. It's hard to find a braking reference for this one. I was struggling with this corner throughout the race, especially getting on the throttle. This Mazda a little bit skittish, even with the TC on, just before the 50 metre board for pull-on. Super fast corner, double left-hander, really satisfying corner when you get it right. Lots of lap time to be made up there in your qualifying lap if you're super committed, but also very easy to run wide, so those recommend a little bit of caution in the race. It's the start of the curb on the left hand side for Campus, that sequence of corners. The start of the curb again for Stavolo 1 on the left hand side. Stavolo 2 is full throttle, but you may just have to have a little bit of a confidence lift if you feel the car starting to drift wide. And we're on the run down towards the final chicane. We've got the fearsome Blanchimont to get through first, but with the soft tyres on, even with the medium tyres, even in the slipstream, it is full throttle. Again, you might want to just give it a little bit of a confidence lift. Do you really have anything to gain by going there full throttle when you're 6 tenths behind another car? You can make that time up in the braking zone, and I can't remember what board I use for the braking zone in the chicane. I think it's the first one. Is that the 150 metre board, or just after the 150 metre board? But yeah, that's where we brake for the chicane. Sacrifice a little bit of your entry speed to get a better exit in the second part of the chicane, and you should be good. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I think this is going to be a good race. It's nice to have some strategy options in there as well. It looks like there's a selection of cars that should be available to use as well. You've got the McLaren, the Mazda, good in tyres. The Supra looks like it's super quick. The BMW looks strong as well. The Porsche won't be too far off it. Yeah, but good, looks like a good race. Definitely looking forward to streaming this one a couple of times, maybe 3 times over the course of the week. And we also have the big update coming with 7 new cars and hopefully lots of other stuff, tracks, features on top of that as well. So yeah, should be a good week of Gran Turismo. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully the video has been useful in some way, shape or form. Catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.